Okay. So in yesterday's session, we discussed about what is responsibility, what is the meaning of menu, request group, and data group, how those are related, and why those menu and data group are mandatory. Okay, and what is the reason uh, to keep request group as a optional. Right? We discussed and we verified all the information, and after that, we created responsibilities for all these applications. Right? We created responsibility for all these applications, and we set one profile option called as HR user type profile option to all the responsibilities, so that there we selected profile value as HR user. Profile option name is HR user type. The profile value is HR user. Apart from that, we have payroll user and HR and payroll user, both we have. That also will be discussing let once we get into the relevant area. But simple understanding. So if you set this HR user type profile option to any responsibility with relevant value, it can be HR user or payroll user. Accordingly, that application, that responsibility will have access to HR related functions. I mean to say the employee specific. HR user means basic employee definition, it will have access. And if you set to this, what I can say, this payroll related information, you can have access. What exactly that we'll see. Okay. After that, we created a user and we assign all responsibility to users. Okay, now, today what we'll do is to start with the multi-org. To start with multi-org, first we'll be finalizing the multi-org structure. How many business groups, how many primary ledgers, how many legal entities, and how many operating units, how many inventory organizations. So once that is get finalized, what we have to do is as a first step, we'll create the locations. Say create locations. Okay, we have to create the locations. Take all the points. Create locations. How many locations we have to create? Okay, how many locations you have to create, that depends on multi-org structure which you are creating. First, if you are going to have one business group, one location. Business group means just to maintain employee information. Physically, you cannot see business group somewhere in the business, but when you are creating the business group in the system, we have to specify the location for the business group. But physically, that is not there somewhere in our business. But what ways will be creating the business group means, when you are creating the location for a business group, there will be registration address, right? Generally, that would be head office or say corporate office address. By taking that corporate office address or registration office address, we'll create the location for business group. The same way when you talk about legal entity, in case of legal entity also registration address only. And primary ledger, no location, right? That will be there in the system. And operating in it, how many branches we have or how many entities we have where you are operating the business. For all those branches or whatever you are calling as operating it, for how many operatings we have, those operatings are located in which location, with the detailed information you have to create those many locations. The same will be having the warehouses that we are capturing the system as a inventory. When you say inventory, that will be there somewhere physically, right? So how many physical inventories we have, how many physical warehouses do we have, those many locations we have to create in the system. That is a simple point to understand. How many locations they have registrations, how many locations they are running the business, those many locations we have to create in the system. But now we are not going to do reality of implementation and all. It's all about just testing and understanding. We'll create one location, the same location we'll use for everything. For a business group, we'll be using the same, and we'll be using for operating units and the inventory organizations also will be using. What are the inventory we create as a virtual inventory? The purpose and all I'll explain you when you create the virtual inventory. But for now, so when you create the virtual inventory will be in which location? Hyderabad. Huh? Why not Bangalore? Virtual, okay, inventory won't be anywhere. No location, right? We discuss when you say virtual, there is no location. So when you create a virtual inventory, we don't need to specify any location since that is in Hyderabad. Fine, nowhere, right? So done. See, think and tell me. See, that's what you be ready in that way. Don't okay. This guy asked one question, I should answer, or else I should answer first. Something else not required. Just whatever I am asking, just think on that. If you are focusing, easily you can validate and you can answer. Don't give me some answer, not required, just okay. That. So now first we'll create the we'll list out few tasks, then we'll proceed one by one. Okay. First we'll create the locations. After creating the locations, we'll create the business group. So create business group. Take all the points. Okay. As a part of business group definition, there will be some other activities also will be doing that. That will be covered as a part of business group creation. We don't need to list out as a separate activities here. Okay. First we'll create the business group. After creating the business group, take the simple point. We have to assign business group to all responsibilities. Assign business group to all responsibilities. So first we'll create the locations for all BZs, OUs and everything, inventories. Then we have to create business group. As per business, how many business groups do they have? Those many business groups will be created. Okay. Okay. Assign business group to all responsibilities. Okay. So to assign business group to all responsibilities, we'll be using the different profile options. We'll be using the different profile options. Just make a note by using which profile options we have to assign business group to operating business group to responsibilities. First profile option is HR business group. HR security profile. MO security profile. But for now, take the point as by using these three profile options, we can assign business group to all responsibility. Why we have to use three? And really we can assign by using these three profile options. BZ2 responsibilities and all we'll discuss detail level. There are some points. If I start explaining now, I can explain, but you cannot understand. There is some risk. That is the reason I'm not going to take you into some confusion and all. But blindly for now you take. We'll create the business group. The business group will assign to all responsibilities by using three profile options. Once we start with our accounts payables application, by the time you complete accounts payables, you will understand really these three profile options we require to assign business group to responsibility or something else. Otherwise, if I start saying, okay, with this business group we can assign the BZ to responsibility with a security profile and MO security profile and HR security profile and MO security profile, we can assign security profile to responsibility or global security profile to responsibility. Are you getting something? No, right? That is the reason I'm not telling that. Ignore my statement. I'll be explaining detail level. For now, simple point you can take as with these three profile options we can assign business group, because the name you will see as a business group only. The other logic and all will discuss detail level. It will be clear for you. We'll be having some fair statements by the time we complete the tables. For now, you take it this. Okay, done. So assign business group to all the responsibilities. So okay, as per multi-org, after under business group, what we have? Sorry? Under business group, what we have? Under business group, legal entity. Any other answer? Primary ledger. Let me ask 100 times. Your answer should be same. Some people are changing. Okay. So after that we have to create the primary ledger. To create the primary ledger, what steps we have to follow, we know, right? Again, very detailed level I'm not going. So okay, let's list out. No, not an issue. Then we'll create period type. We'll do everything again, not an issue. Create period type. Create accounting calendar. Call as accounting calendar. Use proper terminology. Accounting calendar and say create chart of accounts. The currency you can take into any sequence, but that should be done before you create the primary ledger, right? First you may enable currency, it doesn't matter. By the time you create primary ledger, that should be ready. Okay, so create chart of accounts, enable currency. Next, create Who are going to create accounting method? Nobody, right? So we don't take here. We are not doing anything. What we are going to do, I am asking, please. Then say create primary ledger. Why we have doubts and all? Same what are the classes we completed from here. Whatever we are going to do already we done. This is going to be second time, but I'm going to add some good information when we are going to do this. Okay, create primary ledger. Next. Okay, we're done. So primary ledger will be ready, so which we can take as a part of multi-arc structure. So by this time just primary BZ will be ready, and primary ledger also will be ready under business group as per multi-arc structure. Done. So next what we have to under the primary ledger, what we can have? Legal entity. Okay, we know it will be there under primary ledger as per multi-org, but how the relation we have to build between primary ledger and legal entity already we did, right? The same means we'll create the legal entity that will assign to primary ledger, then we'll assign balance segment values to, come on here, what all are in the same word? Legal entity. Why all are just giving the wrong answers? Legal entity, that already we know how to do it. We did the same, will be doing again. So that I am not going to write very in detail level here. Simple statement I'll be writing. Will create legal entity. I don't need to write it here. I will assign that, will assign to this will assign to that, whatever discussed again. You don't need to do that. So whatever the list I am giving here, if somebody is going to ask you what are the setups required for multi or the same, you explain. Okay, right, done. So we'll create the legal entity as per multi-arc. Under legal entity what we have, and one more point here. Okay, we'll create the primary ledger and we'll create the legal entity. After that when you go detail level, this legal entity will assign to primary ledger, and balance and segment values from primary ledger will assign to legal entity. That's how we'll do. So once you have a primary ledger, without legal entity there is no meaning, right? Because we cannot judge, we cannot identify the balancing, the companies who are running under which registration. If there is legal entity, primary ledger with legal entity, that is a proper definition. That's what we have to understand. That is the reason what we'll do is we'll create the primary ledger. After creating the primary ledger, we have to create legal entity, we have to assign and all we have to do. After that, the primary ledger we have to assign to all the responsibilities. Say assign primary ledger to all responsibilities. Means when you are saying assigning, it will get connected. Totally system will be building that multi-org structure whatever we discussed. You don't need to go and draw somewhere, you don't need to go and enable something, just simple definitions and assignments. The logically they written the programming, how system will understand how whatever the flow diagram discussed, that's how it will be start working. Okay, and anyway we have few points to understand what is a multi-org very detailed level, what is the structure wise, the benefits etc. we have to discuss, that will be doing later once we get into the actual usage of multi-org. Okay, done. Fine. So this is all about doing that. After that, as per multi-org, what we have under primary ledger, operating units. Just say create operating units. Take as operating units only. You may create one or multiple. Just keep as a operating units. Legal entities, business groups, or say business group, etc. Single. So it's just simple, no issues. Everything we are taking in the singular. Okay, just primary ledger. We're not talking about primary ledgers and all. Say create operating unit. Create operating unit. Here let me add this point. So here we specify, right, assign business group to all responsibility, we specified these profile options. But in the same way here, which profile option? HR profile type, right? Who are going to assign this? What is the statement over there? What is the answer? Assign primary ledger to all or one or two. What profile option? At least now. Secret. What is that? GL ledger name. Why you are worrying and struggling a lot? See, same, right? Whatever we did, I am asking. I don't know why I am not getting answers. Some people are not at all trying. They are watching. Okay, GL ledger name. See, previous session should retain. Otherwise, no use. If you are attending first session today, only you remember this means things won't work. So everything, everywhere, dependency is there to understand and to go ahead. Okay. So assign primary ledger to all responsible means by you always primary ledger we can assign to responsible by using GL ledger name profile option. Already we discussed, we did, and we tested also ledger journal creation, etc. The same. Now say create operating unit. So after creating the operating unit, this operating unit also we have to assign to all responsibilities. Reality not all. First, as of now, for your practice, let's assign to all, and wherever to which responsibilities those are not required, that will discuss and I'll explain you. If you are going to assign to all, nothing is going to happen. Only you are going to spend extra 2 to 3 minutes only. There won't be an issue. But if you miss the profile option of operating into assignment to so and so responsibility, there will be a big issue. You know, by this time you know where to assign as per multi-org. Okay, that's what previous sessions are very important. Everyday previous sessions are very important. Okay, so as per multi-org, operating unit level, which modules we can map? I am not asking this question. Tell me who can answer. No, I'm not asking. I am asking who can answer. I am asking. My question is, as per multi-org structure, OU level, which modules we can map? Who know the answer for this question? If nobody knows, means I'll be stopping the class. You can go ahead with the previous sessions. That's it. That is the best solution. Who knows? 4 members, 6, 7. Tell me reality, the real way. 7 only. Others are same batch or different batch. Please don't mind. I'm getting doubt because the preparation is working in that way. What about others? You don't know? The multi-org, you don't know? That's what I'm requesting, right? Please just raise your hand. What about you guys? See, if you are doing this kind of preparation, you cannot get job. Unfortunately, if you get job, you cannot survive. You'll be struggling. Anyway, you'll be losing the job. Nobody is there to support us in all the ways when you are not a good subject. Just few sessions, hardly 10 sessions, huh? 10 session related concepts also you are not able to remember. What you can remember? It's going to be around 80 plus hours and all. 80 plus hours means 40 plus classes, more than 10 you are not okay. How 40 when you will be okay? Please try to implement what we are discussing. Try to implement just discussion. Okay, what is which modules you can map? APR, POCM. Please, why you are some others are worrying? Correcting, not required. APR, PO, CM, and no, why? I'm asking him just please, don't mind. CM, what else? Who will support that statement? Which is the right answer? Who can answer? People raised their hands, right? At least, tell me. Then you should support that statement. Next one.
It's not CM, it's OM.
OM, yes. Discussed. If you remember that, further classes will be easy for you. Just cakewalk. Otherwise, it's a different thing. Okay. So APR, PO, OM, there are many other applications also, but not related to us. Wherever we are working very closely, those we are discussing. That means those applications we call as OM specific. Sorry, OU specific. OU specific. So basically, operating unit level, which applications will be working, which applications are mapped, for those applications related responsibilities only we have to assign operating unit. That's it. Now tell me, do we need to assign operating unit to payables?
Operating unit to payables.
Next one, that's what I am asking this kind of questions.
Yes, sir.
Yes? No, I am asking you, please respond. Do we need first class? Okay, sorry. Next. Do we need to assign or not? Yes. Yes only. Reason? My question is, do we need to assign operating unit to payables or not? You are saying yes. Reason? Because AP is OU specific module. OU level mapping means we have to create relationship, right? We have to assign. Now the question is, do we need to assign the same to OM? OU2? Do we need to assign that to GL? No, GL is not mapped yet. OU level. So which modules are mapped at OU level? For that modules only or applications only we have to assign operating unit. Those applications we call as operating unit specific applications. Okay, but in our testing or learning we'll assign to all, nothing wrong. You can ignore also when you are practicing, but I suggest you to go ahead. There won't be an issue at all. Even if you assign system won't use it, that's it. It may take 2 to 3 minutes. Okay, because of these points and all, sometimes if you forget you will be missing for APR or something like that in the process of filtration, then that will create some issues. If you are going to create all also, there won't be an issue. Let's assign to all, but you should know the point. If somebody going to ask, really we have to assign to GL, you should be ready to say no. Yeah, yes, we have to assign because we discussed it to all. That should not be the statement. That is the reason I am telling. But let's do for all. But remember, really it's required for what? For remaining even you can ignore. For HRMS you can ignore, cash management you can ignore, FA you can ignore, and GL you can ignore. Okay, sorry, CM you can ignore. That's it. Fine. Create responsible. Create the operating unit. Then say assign operating unit to. Go with the statement as all responsibilities only. But remember, but when you're practicing, assign to all, not an issue. But reality, you remember. Assign operating unit to all responsibilities. Okay. Assign operating to all responsibilities. Done. Fine. After assigning done, we are creating operating unit. We are assigning done. As per multi-arg, what else we have? Inventory. Inventory will be under operating unit. Say create inventory organization. Here we discussed when we say inventory will be having the physical inventories, real inventories, and one extra we have to create virtual. The reality as per process when we are doing the setups, first we'll be creating the virtual. First we'll be creating the virtual. Generally we are calling name as inventory organization, but which inventory organization? Virtual. The virtual one generally we call as master inventory or item master inventory. Why we will be calling like that we'll be discussing now itself. Okay. So I'll be naming it as create item master inventory organization or inventory, anything you can say. This is inventory organization but not real, not physical. This is virtual. Real inventories will be creating later. Okay. So create item master inventory organization. This is a virtual inventory.
In that only you have to write.
Sorry?
In that only create inventory organization. In that only you have to write item master. Right?
No. Instead of calling it as a inventory, simple inventory, I'm calling it as item master. Take the statement as create item master inventory organization. Inventory organization will create which inventory organization? Item master inventory organization. That is the point. Okay, we'll see details. Okay. We know very well what is a business group, legal entity, primary ledger, and operating unit. Inventory also we know, but we're not sure about item master. But just we know simple statement, which is not real one, it's a virtual. Why this we have to maintain in the system? Let's discuss before we start working on that. Okay, I'll take simple example. Say for example, I'll take that point here. Say customer, say client has multiple inventories warehouses. Say one warehouse in Amirpet, other one is say SR Nagar, the third one is Kukatpally. The same with thing like they have a multiple, okay, multiple inventories. And let's take simple example. The client into say client is say Samsung or this Apple. Okay, in that case if client is, if you are doing the implementation for Apple company, okay, in the inventory what they'll maintain? Only phones, right? iPhones or just other accessories, so something they'll be maintaining. Now say for example we have a requirement, okay, they have a three inventories. They say like they have an item called as iPhone. iPhone they have as item. Now they are dealing this that three inventories they are using to maintain the iPhone stock. This item stock they are maintaining. Now in this case, you have to maintain the stock in the three inventories, right? If you want to maintain the stock in the three inventories, you have to create item called as iPhone here, right?
Yes.
iPhone here you have to create. Here also you have to create
iPhone.
iPhone. Here you have to create
iPhone.
iPhone. Why you are creating here iPhone? That stock you are maintaining. Now again, once you give the name, without giving the name, if you maintain stock as 10, what stock that is? iPhone stock that you have to write first name, then give the stock how much you have. Here 50, 500 we have stock. Here something like say 5 we have. Here we have so one only. Okay, take simple example. So this is how just inventories will be managed, right? So these are the three inventories they have, physical inventories. Okay, and they have in each inventory iPhones. How much quantity means again quantity we have. First iPhone should be there, the name, then they can mention the how much quantity. That means item is same. Item is same. One item need to be managed, maintained in how many inventories here? Three. But real case, if real example, they'll be having stock in multiple locations, right? Maybe across the cities or whatever, right? In that case, the same iPhone. Think example in Hyderabad, in 10 locations they have warehouses. 10 warehouses they'll maintain iPhone on. In that case, how many times you have to create iPhone in the system? First, you have to go to Amirpet inventory. There, write as iPhone. Go to SR Nagar inventory within the system. Go and write as iPhone. Anyway, stock and all different. It can be different in each and every warehouse. So in 10 warehouses, if you have means 10 inventories will be creating. In each inventory, if you are going to maintain one item, in 10 inventories you have to write. That means 10 times you have to write. Do you think that is a duplication? Yes, duplication. Same name in the same system you are writing multiple times, of course, but different inventories. The same way, if this Apple has a 100 type of products or items, then 100 in each inventory 100 they have to write 10 times. I mean 10 overall 10 times. That would be 1000. So that is a just a very tough task, and again duplication and stuff. Uniqueness is 100 only, right? But if they go with this kind of duplication, okay, that will be 1000. It will become 10 times, right? So to avoid that kind of risk, what we do is, so these kind of items, okay, where we are will be maintaining here, right? In inventories will be maintaining. So instead of creating the items in the actual inventories, the items will be creating in the item master. We'll create within the item master. What we do, we'll create the any item. Whatever the item you have, you will be creating in the item master. We'll create here, and we are not going to create here. This item is required in which inventory, just will assign. You may have 100 warehouses, but you have to create item only one time. Just go and assign. Just go and assign. That's it. So we are avoiding the duplication. Respectively, how much stock they have in the particular inventory, that stock you have to update. That's simple. So that means what is the purpose of item master inventory in our application? For item creation purpose, or simply say item maintenance, but not for stock maintenance. Stock maintenance will be done in the item, okay, in the physical inventories. Okay, the virtual inventory we require just to maintain, to create the items. When you are creating, there is a big process and certain points you have to understand. Anyway, when you are creating item, we'll discuss detail level. For now, this is a point we have to understand. Why we require item master? To create the item so that we can avoid the duplication of the work which we do in the system. Generally, every company will have a number of items, right? So in that case, they no need to create in each and every inventory multiple times. One time they can create in the item master. The same can be accessed from any other inventory if the item is assigned to that inventory. That's it. That we'll discuss detail level. The simple point is try to understand. Okay, we'll be creating to create the items we use item master. That is not real one, virtual one, which is required only in the system for the purpose of item creation. That's it. So this is a point we have to understand what exactly item master inventory. That's what we are calling item master. This means the master copy, the master definition will be created here. The same can be used across. We are not going to create everywhere. We are creating only here, that can be used here. We cannot create item in the actual inventories or physical inventories or real inventories, whatever you call it. Items can be created in our system only in item master. If at all when you are trying to create item, if you select your Amirpet or SR Nagar Kukatpalli inventory, it will allow you to select, but it will go to item master only. Okay, so items cannot be created in actual inventories. Only you can create in the item master. That's it. This is the point we have to understand. Okay. So inventories we no need to assign to anything. Anyway, these will be under operating units, but there will be some specification will be giving. Accordingly, system will take that which inventory under which operating unit. Anyway, this is just a virtual one we are creating. After that, we'll be creating the real inventories. At the time, that point we'll be discussing detail level. Once we're done with that, we have to run. Just take the point. We have to run the one program. Okay, one program or say one request called as replicate C data program. We have to run replicate C data program. Okay. We have to run replicate C data program. Okay, we have to run replicate C data program. So why we have to run the replicate C data program? By seeing this name, tell me what do you mean by replicate? English term meaning I am asking. I am not asking what do you mean by replicate in the system. Duplication. It's all about copy. Duplication means copy. So what we are going to copy? You see what we are going to copy? Seeded data. Seeded data means you know, right? What do you mean by seeded data?
Cannot change.
Which is delivered by Oracle, which will be given by Oracle, which we can see in the fresh instance. Or instance we can call as environment. In fresh environment we can see which is not created by you or me or somebody, which is created by Oracle as a part of product development, which can be used in the business process or setup process, whatever it may be, which are readily available within the system. Those we call as seeded data. Best example is currencies, or you can say year types, right? Those are all accounting methods, right? Accounting methods are also seeded, right? They all will be calling. So here what we have to run the program called as replicate seed data. Replicate means here take as a copy. Seed data means seed data or master data or fundamental data all are same. So master data again that falls in a different classification. Take as seed data or fundamental data or standard data. Okay, or Oracle delivered data. Okay, so seeded data we have to copy. That is the meaning of the program. Which is seeded data for what we have to copy. Now what we are doing, we are creating the multi-org, right? We are creating the multi-org. When you create a multi-org, we may have one business group or multiple business group, one primary ledger or one or multiple legal entities, one or multiple operating entities, one or multiple inventory. Doesn't matter how many you have. Only the thing is you may have one, or else you can have a multiple. Once you create the multi-org, you have to run this program. If you run, what happens is within the instance, already discussed, right? What is the meaning of instance? Within the instance, Oracle is providing some seeded data which is required for every new multi-org. Okay, which is required for new multi-org. If you construct new home, to stay in that home, you have to do some work, right? Some arrangements you have to get into something into home, then only you can stay. Because it's a new house, you cannot. In the same way here, instance also, you create a new multi-org. If you want to start using that multi-org, certain data is required. Certain data is required. The data we call as seeded data. The seeded data will be available in instance itself. But where they are keeping and from where we have to take, we don't need to understand. That is there within the every instance. But what we have to do is we have to run this replicate seed data program so that that seeded data what Oracle kept in the instance that will be applied to our multi-org. Once that seeded data is get applied on our multi-org, then almost it is ready to start working on it. It's not like ready, it's ready to use, After doing that also, we have to do some setups and all that we'll discuss detail. Then once you do setups, you can use it. If you don't do this program, okay, it will be working, but there will be cases where you will be having some experience where you will be facing some issues. You'll be facing some issues. This is a recommendation from Oracle. What Oracle says is, so once you create new multi-org, before you start working on the multi-org environment for to setups or any process, etc. Okay, so you have to run this program by targeting our multi-org. We have to give our multi-org name, but not exactly our multi-org name. Within our multi-org, you can give any one of the operating unit name. So system will understand this operating unit belongs to which multi-org. So the program will be run for system will be running for entire multi-org. Then we can start working on the multi-org. So we'll run this program. After that, we'll start doing the setups. Then we'll start using the system in the sense each and every module. That we'll discuss detail level, but these are the points to understand. Clear, right? What is the meaning of replicates the data? For every new multi-org, we have to copy some seeded data, where the seeded data available within the instance only. So once you run it properly, that will be ready. Okay, logically that would be ready. Then we can start using that. Then we can start working on a multi-org environment to complete the implementation. Once we complete the implementation, client will start using the same multi-org environment for their business transactions. Clear, right? So if anybody is going to ask you what are the setups required for multi-org, this is what we have to say. Don't say login as a sysadmin user. That is a fact, but you should not say. So you have to start with the. I'll explain you. So just make a note. You remember the way. So if somebody is going to ask me, okay, tell me like what are the, what is the process or what are the steps followed to configure the multi-org? If that is a question to me, I'll be answering saying that, see, to create the multi-org, first we have to understand what is the scope of the implementation. That means which modules need to be implemented. Based on that, we'll be creating all the responsibilities. How many applications we are going to implement? For all applications, we have to create the responsibilities. After creating the responsibilities, here I followed some sequence, but see the way how I'll be telling. We'll create the responsibilities, then we'll be creating the user, and we'll be assigning all the responsibilities to the user. Then we'll be setting up HR user type profile option to all the responsibilities, and we'll create the locations. What are the locations required for operating units and the business groups and everything? We'll create the locations. After creating the locations, we'll create the business group, and business group we will be assigning to all the responsibilities. Here I don't need to say which profile option and all until unless the person is going to have a cross question. Okay, not required. You don't want to say we'll create the responsibility, we'll create the business group. The business group will assign to all the responsibilities, and then after that what we'll be doing, and we'll be creating the not legal entity. Legal entity as per multi-org legal entity, but in system point of view, different hierarchy point of when you see that's different, right? So as per system, like just we have primary ledger under here, but there also in the system also we are creating, but exactly we are not doing in that way. Legal entity we are assigning to this, but as per hierarchy, the specification this has to be assigned, and there's a somewhat different. But here when you are doing in the system, that could be slightly different. But the process wise, what we have to explain the system. So we'll business group will create and will assign. After that, we'll be creating the accounting calendar. Say the simple points. You are not going to have a thousands of points, right? Simple points. I'm not going to explain. In this case, we have to create period type. That's very minute points and are not required. The way is we have to explain. So we have to create the accounting calendar and say we'll design the chart of accounts. Creation term not correct because chart of accounts very key component. It's very important. That's the reason use terminology as a we'll design the chart of account or say finalize the chart of account. We have to finalize the chart. It's all about creating only. Before that there will be a number of discussions with the client which we do. That will be discussing in real time classes. Okay. So we'll design the chart of accounts, or I'll say we'll finalize the chart of accounts. Then we'll create the primary ledger. Okay. And say enable, we'll enable the currency. Okay. Which currencies we require. When you say this point, you say in this way. We'll enable the which currencies required. Means those can be functional or some foreign currencies also, right? As per client requirement, if they are going to do the transaction, other 10 currencies also, the 10 currencies plus functional currency, total 11 we have to enable. That means simple statement you say, don't say enable currency, we'll be enabling the currencies whatever required. We'll enable the currencies, then we'll create the primary ledger. We'll create the primary ledger. After creating the primary ledger, don't say we have to provide retained earnings accounts. Yes, true, but not required in the discussion when you're presenting. We'll create the primary ledger means that is the meaning of that. That is also should be included. You don't need to say we have to go there. We have to enable the allow dynamic inserts, etc. Not required. Simple statement is we have to create the primary ledger. Then we'll create the legal entity. There, since this is a very important point, even I didn't write here. Explanation should come. See that difference. Okay, we'll create the legal entity that will be mapping with the primary ledger. BSVs will be assigned to the legal entity. Done. After that, no need to say we have to complete. An explanation, no need to say we have to complete. Right? There is a tab called complete. That is not required. Then what is the next? Then we have to assign primary ledger to all the responsibilities. Then finally we'll be creating the operating net. We'll create the operating nets. And or else you can say like we'll create the locations for operating nets. So generally we'll be covering in the first step only for all locations for everything. Here simply you can say we'll create the operating nets. Operating nets will assign to responsibilities. Here no need to include all because all is not correct. Responsibility is correct, which you are not saying. Okay, we will create operating net and the operating net will assign to responsibilities. Then if they ask some cross question, which response you can answer that, right? You know where this time. Yeah, which responsibility as per multi-org OU level what modules we have for those responsibilities. Then after that what we'll do? Sorry. No, don't say an explanation. Don't say item master or other master. Just simply say create inventory organization. Okay, create inventory organization. That's it. And then finally run replicate seed data program. After running that, what are the multi-org we created? That is right or wrong. Also, we can verify that we'll see in the system. So this is what are the setups required for multi-org. This is a sequence. Follow the same sequence. Okay, if you try with a different sequence other than this 50-50 chances you may get positive results or negative results. Okay, it will be reflecting in different ways. So that is just follow the same process anytime. Okay, follow the same process. This is how we'll be creating. After doing all the setups, multi-org will be ready. So then within the multi-org we have some modules, right, as a part of responsibilities. Then can we start using the system? No. After creating the multi-org, we cannot use the system directly. Okay, so multi-org ready means just multi-org is just ready. You cannot use it. So to use any application in the multi-org environment, we are creating some environment as a multi-org. Within that we have all the applications, right? We have all applications. Within the multi-org environment, what are the applications we have? If you want to use those applications, what we have to do is, okay, just give me 1 second. Okay, fine, done. So what we are discussing here? Yeah, after completing the multi-org, directly you cannot go and use any application. So once we create the multi-org environment, we call within the environment we have all the applications. In the multi-org environment, we have all these applications that applications will be using. Because if you have application in the multi-org environment, there will be some security and all that we'll discuss detail level later. So once multi-org is done, what we have to do is you have to start with the application specific setups. If you want to use HRMS, you have to complete HRMS setups. Simply you call it as configuration. We have to complete the configuration for HRMS. Then to use inventory, we have to do the inventory related setups, basic setups. To use purchasing, we have to complete purchase related setups. To use payables, we have to complete the basic level setups. This is how for which application you want to use. That application specific setups you have to complete. Once you complete the setups, then you can start working on the business process. Okay, if you want to create purchase orders, you can create. If you want to create requisitions, you can create in the purchasing. If you want to create receipts, you can create. But before doing the setups, after completing the multi-org, without doing the setups, you cannot have a transactions. And even in payables also, if you want to create the purchase invoice and payments, the first step is that should be part of multi-org. Okay, now we are going to create multi-org. It will be part of multi-org only, since we assigned everything to payables responsibility also, right? So then what we have to do? If you want to create the payables invoice and payment, you have to complete the payable setups. If you complete the payable setups, then you can start using the payables application, right? So that's how we have to do. Now after completing this, we have to start with the module specific setups. Module specific setups. So after this, what are for which module, which application, which setups we have to do, detail level I'll list out here. We'll be doing one by one. Okay. So this is and all you have to understand, and it's not like just understanding and practicing in the system. You should be able to explain that too in the proper way and with a good flow, and more than that, good confidence. Otherwise, you may just go through everything and you know everything, you remember everything. You'll go for interview. You'll be thinking, I answered everything, but if feedback is negative, means you are too lacking lot of confidence. They know very well. You don't know that, and you are struggling to answer. You answered everything. There's a half an hour gap between line to line. Right? In that case, what feedback they'll be giving? They'll think this guy will be struggling like this. If I send to the client there also, then we lose the project. They'll be thinking. They'll see your confidence, positive or negative. Accordingly, they'll take decision. Simple point I'm telling. You are learning this course, and you are going to try as a fresher. Okay, you are going to try as a fresher. When you go for any interview, what they'll see, frankly speaking, they may not see too much subject from your end. They'll see your confidence and your attitude and your communication. These things they'll see. By taking this statement, don't show your confidence too much without having subject. Okay, fine. That is also important. You should have subject. With the subject, you should have good confidence. Whatever you are speaking, you should have good communication skills, and you should have a right attitude, like where you'll be more polite and you'll be accepting others whatever they says, and you'll be taking something wherever required very positively, and you'll be a good learner or a quick learner. That's how you have to present yourself. On that base, they'll be taking. If two people are going for interview, one guy is great, is good enough with the subject, think he is helping to others in the institute to when they are practicing, but other guy is taking help from him. But this guy will get job, that guy won't get job. That's the reason always subject is not always not matter. Along with the subject, other things also very important. The guy who is helping to other all other system practice is not okay with the communication, then how he will get job? That is the first qualification to get IT job in any technology or anything. So first you should be okay with the communication, then you should be okay with the subject, and you should be able to present it in proper way. It's not like you should be able to present how proper way and with good confidence, and you should have a very right attitude. Okay, when the high level some discussion, people will be thinking, and there where some people are attending some companies and all, there will be general discussion saying that, okay, pick right people. They maybe present some experience, but if person communication is good and his confidence levels are good, and somewhat some, even if you know some basic subject, take him, no problem, you can improve. And all, that's how there will be some discussions. Say these are hidden discussions we don't see, nobody will discuss with us. The interview panels or managers or somebody will be speaking in some companies, sometimes you can hear once you get into the company. But they'll look for right people. Right people means may not be with a good subject knowledge and all, who will be willing to take some challenges or working. And first communication is important. They'll see communication only, because our job is going to be purely functional job. Functional means it's always we have to communicate. We'll be always interacting with the clients and other team members and with many other stakeholders will be part of the project, that will discuss detail level anyway. So we'll be speaking. That is the reason we should have a good communication skills. If you are not okay with the communication, even if you are okay with the communication, you are not interested to speak others, it's this kind of course is not right choice for you. Okay, you can go and do the technical course, that would be the right course. So that is the reason communication is very important. After that, you should be okay with the subject. And third point is whatever you know, it can be theoretical concepts or system related, whatever it may be, you should be able to present in proper way with good confidence. Then things will work fine for any party. For one side, for company will be fine, for your side, your pocket also will be fine. So that is the reason these things are very very important. Okay, that is the reason I am explaining you after writing also, otherwise not required, right? Just I'm just outlining the way how you have to present and all. Okay, these points are very important. Okay. Fine then. Okay, so then we'll catch tomorrow. Okay, seems so there is some urgency here. Okay, see you tomorrow then.